Normally when it gets to the end of Christmas, you're not sure are there going to be any more gifts. Has anybody got one last-ditch surprise? Well, America today got a late Christmas gift, and that Christmas gift was Jaime Jaquez Jr. Goosey's galore, dude. The Miami Heat rookie sensation goes out there today on the holiday, on the national stage, when all the talk was, oh, no, Joel Embiid's out there. And by the way, that's all the talk that there was, because you wouldn't even know that Jimmy Butler wasn't playing in this game, because you don't get to mention when the Heat are missing a player. You never get to mention it. You never get to mention it. Even though the Heat were missing, 4 rotational guys tonight? You never get to mention it. Don't talk about it. Do not talk about the Miami Heat missing any of these people. But nonetheless, Jaime Jaquez Jr., he took that national spotlight and he shined it right on himself. And today, this man was an absolute menace. He was breathtaking. America got to see that footwork turn into artwork. It was just, what can you say about this kid? 31 points tonight, 10 rebounds, just pristine. Great all over the place, and just putting a body on veterans and getting tough buckets. Spinning around, they don't know what the hell to do with them. You need him to knock down a mid-range jumper, there he is. You need him to knock down a corner 3, there he is. You need him to get the biggest thing for him today, the nose for the rock, all right, NFTR. His ability to get those offensive rebounds today, get putbacks, or get the offensive rebound and then get fouled. He was just an absolute monster today. An absolute monster, and really shined bright. What could have turned out to be a pretty grim day for the Heat, where they let this massive lead slip away. They're up, the classic Heat move today, up 21 in the third quarter, completely poop away the lead. It's running down their legs. Tyler Hero's there in the third quarter. He's shooting like the third little pig. He's building a house made out of bricks. Miami Heat can't buy a bucket. Jaime's just here getting bucket after bucket after, but they're not giving him the ball enough. And it took a fourth quarter steadying to get this one home. But Miami did today. They win 119-113, get themselves to a season best 6 games over 500 with run their record to 18-12 with this 6-point victory night. And yes, obviously the big headline of this today is there were no stars for either team. There was no Joel Embiid. There was no Jimmy Butler. Again, Joel Embiid was mentioned about 9. I love Mark Jones. Don't get me wrong. Mark Jones, as good as they come nationally, that he represents. However, even he was guilty of saying, no Joel Embiid tonight for the Sixers, like 9 times. It got mentioned like once that Jimmy Butler wasn't playing for the Heat tonight. It was barely mentioned. I think they showed him once, and they're like, in fact, they were going over the list of guys missing, and I swear to God, at one point they mentioned J. Rich before they mentioned Jimmy Butler. And I was like, that's an interesting one. Okay. But tonight, the Heat definitely benefited from a couple of things. First of all, Tyrese Maxey. I think this was supposed to be his grand national showcase. They were going to act like, oh, no Joel Embiid tonight, but we get to watch the Maxey show. All right, to the max. We all get to watch it. And he stunk up the joint today. I mean, it was you. I'm sure the people, if you were at the Casellas that night, you probably were. Whoa. You're probably dodging, wondering about, oh man, it might come after me. That's how inaccurate his shot was today. Couldn't hit water if he fell out of a freaking boat today. In fact, he's lucky that Kelly Oubre was there to save his ass and even make this a game, because he shriveled on the national stage today. He was no good at all. To be fair, it was, you would have thought the 2 Kentucky guards, the star show was going to be Maxey versus Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero, finishes with his 22 points. Certainly was nowhere near the stink job that Maxey put up. But Tyler was 8 of 25 today. I mean, he was no great shakes, and his shot was not falling today. He trusted it a ton, certainly in that third quarter where he was going 2 of 9. And you're like, oof, Tyler, let's get it going, dude. And he did not have that. Thankfully, though, the Miami Heat would take this puppy home and would do it in the fourth quarter, much to the thanks of Jaime Jaquez Jr., but also some really, really great play today. And it is interesting to say, it is interesting to see. It does seem like it is on these big stages, these national stages, and especially when Jimmy's out, when Kyle Lowry seems to come through with these big time performances and just gives you those little edge, those little margin plays, those key buckets when you need them. That's where Kyle Lowry usually is. It's either to get a jumper, to put the Heat up 101-99, or it's at the end of the third quarter where things are looking pretty grim, and there he is to hit one off the window, or he's setting Jaime Jaquez up for an easy dunk. Like, Kyle Lowry just seems to just find those plays and fill in the spots where they're all needed. And he was tremendous tonight for this Miami Heat team. Down the line in this game, where it was, it was like a 4-point game back and forth. Tyler Hero had a tough time getting looks. They were throwing Paul Reed at him. I mean, look, to show you that they had respect for Tyler Hero, we're trying to mess with his space. I mean, they're throwing centers at him to try and get him off kilter and to cause turnovers. The problem was it seemed to be working. They got the ball out of his hands, and thankfully, other guys were there to clean up the mess. Tyler had a miss. Bam Adebayo was there for a putback to get the Heat up 6. And then the real dagger of the game, Bam gets a big board off a Sixers miss. Kyle Lowry finds Duncan Robinson on the break right there for a 3. You could play the Peppers if you wanted to. That was all she wrote. Maxey would go to the line. He'd start bricking free throws because you can't even give him the free throws. He'll give one back. He doesn't accept charity. He's that kind of a guy tonight. And it was a great game, man. It was a great performance towards the end. You got big plays from Bam Adebayo. Him and Kyle had a good symbiosis going together. Kyle was really looking for Bam there and getting those mismatches. Obviously, with no Embiid out there, they're playing Mo Bamba, they're playing Paul Reed. They're not having the great shakes at center out there. You do have to take advantage of that matchup, and the Heat certainly did. They certainly did. This is why they're the kings of Christmas. Eric Spoelstra, 9-0 all time on December 25th. He is really, he is the Christmas master, Eric Spoelstra. And speaking of Eric Spoelstra, it was funny. I do want to mention this because, the bums won't talk about it. Like, let's be real about it. Jaime Jaquez Jr. goes and has this performance today, but the bums won't talk about it. And with the bums, you know who I mean. The bums. Because I'm sitting here and I'm watching the halftime show. I know. Silly me. But I figure, whatever. Let's give it a look-see. And so, typical national Heat game. First of all, they spend the entire time talking about the Sixers. And then they kick in a little Bucks talk because they're like, well, I don't know about the Bucks, but should we care the Bucks? And then, of course, Boston. Oh, class of the East. The Boston Celtics. The Heat aren't the class of the East. The Heat, who have beaten the Celtics more times over the last 4 years to get to the finals, they're not the class of the East, but Boston is the class of the East this year. Okay, sorry. Just so we're clear, everybody. And to Kendrick Perkins' credit, he's a bit of a Heat fan phony, but he did mention today where he's talking about coaching because they were talking about Adrian Griffin and how there's some issues there in Milwaukee, who lost to the Knicks today, by the way. And they were talking about, Eric Spoelstra, and Stephen A goes, oh, the best. But then will not. And I'll have the clip here for you. Well, let's get real real technological here. I'll just play it off my phone so you guys can hear what the bums are talking about. But
Denver Nuggets, the disrespect to the Miami Heat. No, it's not. Yeah, they ain't enough. They represented the East. I don't care. They don't have enough. And here they are right in the thick of things. We said that last year. We said that last year.
The Miami Heat.
We said that last year.
I said it again. Never count against
He's
them,
forgotten.
right?
Too much
so Stephen A just outraged, is just like, no, we're not. We're not disrespecting the Heat. We're not disrespecting the Heat. They don't have enough. They don't have enough. Eric Spoelstra will always say, we have enough. Stephen A. Smith, they don't have enough. Which is kind of crazy because you look at this team and people talk about the running it back. Okay. Thought it was going to work. Whatever. You lose Max Strus. You lose Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent's about to go on the shelf because he's going to get knee surgery. And they've replaced that with Duncan Robinson. Max Strus has been replaced by Duncan Robinson, who is a better player than the Duncan Robinson we're all familiar with. He's been an absolute killer. And then essentially you've taken the Gabe Vincent minutes or roles or production, and not apples for apples, but you have Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's arguably the rookie of the year. And it's banana. I mean, if you want to go here and give it to the fake rookie Chet Holmgren, I mean, knock yourself out. He's not a rookie, but by all means, go ahead. And if you want to give it to Wembanyama, who's lost a gazillion games in a row, or to somebody on the Pistons, by all means, go ahead. But you guys are missing art every single night with the footwork this kid's putting through and what he just did on the national stage. Give me the rookie who's doing that. I'd love to know. But that's fine. Whatever. The Miami Heat have essentially added a first-team all-rookie who does play like a guy who's been in the league for 3 years, who can contribute, who Spo does trust in the fourth quarter, who's essentially got Jimmy Butler stuff that he brings to the court every single time. That's just a plus of playing good basketball. But the bums won't talk about it. The bums want to sit here and be like, and it's like, oh, okay. They don't really. Interesting. Okay. So they don't have enough. They don't. This team doesn't have enough. I mean, they're, few games. They haven't had their team healthy the entire year. They're 3 games back at the Sixers, who you again are going to fall for this thing where you're going to fluff them up. You're going to believe in Tyrese Maxey, who stunk today, and you're going to believe that Joel Embiid can stay healthy, which he won't. And even if he does stay healthy, you're going to believe that he can get out of the second round, which he won't. And then we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about a very flawed Bucks team that the Miami Heat are not scared of. Dame, no Dame, Giannis. Nobody's got better success about, having the formula to mess with Giannis more than the Miami Heat. And then the Celtics, forget about it, dude. You could add Kristaps Porzingis all the hell you want. Again, same thing to Joel Embiid, assuming that he gets there to the finish line. But the stars, the faces of that team, the Heat's faces are not scared of. And do not fret. And you're going to sit here and make the same dumbass argument. And why I'm going to sit here banging my head against this camera, I don't know. Because, we're going to sit here again with analytics telling the Heat they got 3%, 4% chance to win a series against Boston, even though there's not that big a difference of them. And people will continue to make the same silly arguments and ignore the Heat's best player is out, but they ignore that he's out. And then it's like, if the other team's best players, that'll be a storyline the entire time. But the Heat being able to succeed without their star and the other one not being able to succeed with their star, which one gets overshadowed in the headlines, So it's just interesting to me. And if you're going to say, whoa, Joel Embiid's a better player than Jimmy Butler, well, the closest he's ever gotten to doing with real winning was with Jimmy Butler, and he hasn't stopped bitching about Jimmy Butler not being his teammate literally since Jimmy Butler's left being his teammate. So if you don't think Jimmy Butler's important to winning, why don't you ask the MVP who you guys continue to want to trot out here and crown every single year and try and make the case that this is going to be his year, even though it's not going to be his year. So that's okay, Stephen A. You don't have to say that the Miami Heat have enough. We know you don't think they have enough. We know that you'll also be fawning over South Beach by the time the finals roll around. And you'll be super excited and you go, oh, I can't believe the Heat are here again. But go ahead, make the case yet again that the Heat don't have enough, even though they have more than they did last year when they got to the NBA Finals. That's okay. To me, 2 + 2 = 4. To you, 2 + 2 might equal ravioli. I don't know, dude. The equation may be a little bit weird for you. Fine. You see a Heat team that's clearly got improved players around Jimmy Butler, and you're like, I don't believe it. But that's fine. We don't have to be there, dude. We don't. We know that you'll come around once again once the Heat are beating somebody that you guys all thought was going to be better at the end, and cool. That's totally fine. Well, I don't even want to get mad at it anymore. I almost feel bad for him. It's really like, I have been accused of being, from my guy Dade South, of being Wild Heat Coyote. But in this case, I really feel like the NBA bums are Wild Heat Coyote. I really do. I feel like they continue to overlook the Heat, and what they do is they run over the cliff, and then they realize that there's no land beneath them, and they are able to walk on air for a little bit, but then Acme explosion. Anyway, Jaime Jaquez Jr., thank you for such a Merry, Merry Christmas, a Feliz Navidad, a beautiful day for Heat Nation, And now they go on this West Coast trip. This is going to be a fun one. Miami Heat get to go out west. They got the Warriors coming up at the end of the week. And you got some matchup against Golden State. Utah kind of stinks. Clippers, LA, and Phoenix. So this is going to be a fun trip. A lot of fun star matchups for the Miami Heat to continue to show everybody that they can beat anybody, and then the continued opportunities of the national media to just ignore it because the bums won't talk about it.